Okay, today we're going to do another Ottoman translation tutorial. We're doing a narrative text, a historical chronicle about the Siege of Rhodes in 1522. You can read more about that. It's quite interesting. And I also wanted to do a tutorial with a manuscript, but this manuscript is pretty clearly written. There's not, too much unclear handwriting. The only issue with this manuscript in particular is that some of the spellings of the words and the orthography is a little funny. I'll, discuss that as it comes up. And the other thing to keep in mind as we move forward is not everything can necessarily be translated one-to-one into English. So, just something to be aware of. And, if there's something that you see as you go through the video yourself that maybe you have a better translation or something for that, feel free to, leave a comment. Okay. Need to have a sip of coffee there before we get started. All right. Divani Humayun Olup. Very easy clause. And you could translate this as a complete sentence if you wanted to, but it's grammatically not in Ottoman. So we have our up ending. So that means that it's part of this sentence that will continue, but it is not a fully conjugated verb technically. But if you wanted to do a very functional, direct, simple translation, you could just say, there was an imperial council on this day, 18th day of Ramadan. This is what's the author's telling us. This is kind of what happened today. Divan-i Humayun Ulup. Divan is a council. This is where the spelling is a little off because we have a divan later where there's the ya, but the scribe didn't put the ya before the vav here for some reason. But based on context clues, we can know Divan-i Humayun Ulup. There was a royal or imperial council. Humayun, royal, imperial. Now this next piece up is basically just to refer to the Sultan. It's giving him a bunch of titles and appellations. Hazret di Padişah Shahin Shah Izzet Hazret Leri. His Eminence the Sultan, King of Kings. Izzet Hazret Leri. Izzet is strength or majesty. Hazret Leri, again, eminence. So it's basically just to refer to the Sultan, Padişah. And then we have Huzur Larinna, to his presence. So we have the E to show that it's being possessed, or it's linked to the preceding word, and then we have a dative. So, and Huzur is presence, so to his presence. Misr Dan. Here it's Kala or Kala. I'm really not sure what this is doing, but Hayerbek is the name of the governor of Egypt. So he had been a Mamluk or part of the Mamluk regime before it was conquered by the Ottomans here, and he's still in charge of Egypt just as an Ottoman governor. Or he had been a Mamluk emir. I don't think he was actually like the Mamluk sultan or something. At any rate, that's kind of a detail, but Hayerbek, this guy, Kala Hayerbek, and this is another moment where, sometimes you may come across a word and you cannot find it in the dictionary and it's very confusing. Chances are it's probably a proper noun or someone's name or a place name. That can get kind of tricky, especially place names where, since especially like the collapse of the Ottoman Empire, you have the names within Turkey, for example, have changed. Place names in Turkey have changed a lot. Or, you have places in the Balkans where, the name has changed, one or more times even. So at any rate, just something to keep in mind in general if you are trying to learn Ottoman to translate on your own. Hayrbek, irsal eylediği. So, and I'll continue and then we'll go through it. So, hedaya, gifts. It's plural of hediye, which is still used in Turkish today for gifts. Çekılıp. Now, çekilmek literally means to withdraw or to pull. Probably here we could say it's more like received, something like that. So the gifts, irsal eylediği, that Hayrbek sent from Egypt. Misr is Egypt, same as it is in Arabic. Dan, we have our from ending, Misr, Dan, were withdrawn or were taken to the royal presence. It's not quite taken literally, but as I said, you have to kind of play with it a little bit to make it sound right in English. And also, this is true, I think, of any language. Sometimes the logic of how verbs are used is not going to be the same from one language to another. I think this is kind of another example of that. Okay, so what's going on here? So there was a royal council. There were some gifts sent by the governor of Egypt, and they were taken to the Sultan. Then we have our next sentence, or next clause. Rikabi Humayunna. Rikab is a stirrup, like you would have a stirrup on a horse. And this is another way of saying, huzur, the presence of the Sultan. Rikabi Humayunna, to, our dative case, to the royal stirrup. Ars, Olanup, and then we have another one of these compound verbs. That's ars, to present, and then olmak. So that's how this verb functions. Was presented to the royal stirrup. Ars is a very common word in Ottoman, especially situations like this where there's some kind of courtly protocol or a gift, a person's being presented either to the sultan or to a vizier or something like that. Olanup was presented to the royal stirrup. And then this next part, we have kabul, which means to accept, another really commonly used word. But then we have hibden or hiden, which I am not sure, frankly. So if you have a reading of this that's better, please leave a comment. But this is another teachable moment where, okay, we know kabul, and then we know dan sonra, which means after this, using the from case, and then sonra means after. So we have kabul, hibden sonra. We know kabul means accept. Probably it's a scribal error, or maybe it's just a word I don't know, or the spelling is different for whatever reason. But probably it's after they were accepted, after the acceptance. And another clue that there's something tricky going on here is we have lam, which if this was connected to the next word would be linked, like we have eylediği up here where the lam comes up and then down into the dal, but we don't have that here with this lam. So a bit confusing, but we can kind of infer what this means, and it's pretty straightforward. Okay, now we have the next part of the sentence. So after this, basically, after all that, Kalanın fet ahvalı için. İçin is a postposition, means for. Ahvalı is condition, circumstance. Fet, conquest, or literally opening, but conquest. And then we have kala, which means castle or fortress. And then we have the genitive suffix nin, kala nin, fet ahvalı için. So for the conditions, or the condition of conquest of the castle, mudabiran, the managers, and an here is a functioning as a plural. So mudabiran, umurin, umur is affair, work. And we have another genitive ending, umurin. İhtilali or ihtilala. Sometimes the vowel harmony in Ottoman is not always clear to me. And anyway, they are vaki olup. So vaki olup is happening, occurred. Could probably also translate just as there was. İhtilala. So there was possibility for the conditions of conquest of the castle. Now, to this point, the siege has not really been going super well for the Ottomans. So what they're about to discuss is another opportunity to try to break the walls. Divani Humayunda. So here we have a different spelling of divan. And we have da, in, on, at, in the Imperial Council. Kil, kal. These are both words for speech. This may be some kind of set expression that I couldn't trace in a dictionary. Uzre olup. But essentially, uzre is upon or on. So there was talk about the subject or about this in the Imperial Council, talking about what they're going to do to, hopefully break the siege at this point. And in the text, we're still not done, so it's not going to be successful, but at this point. But anyway, Mehmed Pasha Hazretleri Sahib Tedbir Kimesne idi. Tedbir is preparation. Kimesne is someone, anyone. And then we have iti, which is the past tense particle. So Mehmed Pasha, His Eminence, Hazretleri, was possessed of preparation, literally, but probably more like assigned. Someone assigned preparation, or someone managing preparations. Buyurdu, it was commanded. Very common Ottoman word. Buyurdu. Bu hisar gayet zarbdır. Top ile yıklamak This castle, or this fortress, Hisar, gayet zarptır. We have our present tense is ending, dir, is struck greatly or a lot, gayet. Top ile yıklamak. Top is a cannon, ile with, yıklamak. Yıklamak is to pull down, to tear down. So to topple it or to pull it down with cannon. Askere, to the soldiers. We have our dative ending. Asker, to the army. Yol, a road or a path. Açılmak, mahaldir. So to open a path for the soldiers, there are places. Bir canibinden toprak ile çuvallara doldurup. Okay, canibinden, from one of its sides, or from one of its directions. Toprak, earth, ile çuvallara doldurup, doldurmak, to cause to fill. Çuval is a sack or a bag. So from one of its sides, filled, or they filled bags with earth or with dirt. Çuvaldan Hisar'a birkaç kule havale bina edip. So from the sacks, and then we have Hisara, to the castle, birkaç, some, kule havale bina edip. To this task, and then kule is a slave or a servant. Birkaç kule, build, to build, basically to do this. It's basically telling them to do this. Bina edip, to construct this bags, these sandbags essentially, and put it to the castle. Üzerine tüfek, it's a musket. Tüfekçiler kiyip. Now, kiyip means to slaughter, to sacrifice, but we have üzerine tüfekçiler kiyip, upon them or on them the musketeers, tüfekçiler, if the plural, they will sacrifice or slaughter upon them, something like that. Hisar bedenlerinden, from the body of the fortress. Beden literally means body, probably from like the core, something like that, from the, anyway, from the fortress, or from Hisar bedenlerinden, from the structures, perhaps, of the fortress. Ehli Islam'a, the people of Islam, this of course refers to the Ottomans, to the people of Islam. Top ve tüfek aten kafirleri kaçırıp. So here we have top ve tüfek aten, so firing cannon and musket. Kafirleri, the infidels. Kaçırıp. The infidels firing cannon and musket at the people of Islam from the fortress was permitted, or was not permitted, but was, Red House defines it, one of the definitions is to make or let pass surreptitiously, or to let pass by inadvertency. So was allowed, or something like that, was happening. Basically, what they're saying here is they're taking heavy musket and cannon fire from the fortress, and they've been kind of allowing this to happen, and they're trying to come up with an idea of what to do. Let's see how we're doing on time. Okay, 22 minutes. So I think I'll stop there. And I hope this was informative. If you have any suggestions about how to improve the translation, or something I made a mistake on, feel free to leave a polite comment and point that out. Hopefully this is useful to you, or at least interesting to see how to go through this. I may revisit this text in the future because it's fairly easy, despite some of the kind of funny bits of the orthography and some other things like that. But hopefully you found this useful, or just interesting. And thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Have a good day, good evening. Görüşürüz.